On Point is brought to you by National Baking Company.
Good evening and welcome to On Point. I'm your host, Kalila Reynolds, flying solo this week. No Dennis, where is he? He's off the island for now. He should be back here next week. Well, there's a lot going on in the business environment. Locally, regionally, internationally, Trump is always a hot topic. He's always saying something, always up to something. When is Trump not in the news? Like, he's there every single day. Locally, though, the big business story has been about CB, Caribbean Broilers, and this massive $15 billion investment that they're making in the local economy, in their own business, to consolidate their businesses, $15 billion over 7 years. And did you hear that Usain Bolt is looking to move to London? Say it ain't so. But I guess it makes good business sense since he's now opening, well, not him exactly, but his name is going to be on 15 restaurants in London. He's a huge star over there. So it makes some good business sense for him. He says he's going to be back and forth between Kingston and London. So good for you, Usain. Do what you got to do. But what we're talking about this week here on the show, On Point, is banking. And that's because JMMB Bank is Jamaica's newest full-fledged bank. They're no longer a merchant bank, they're now a commercial bank, and we're going to be joined by their CEO, Jerome Smalling. Later on in the program, we'll also be taking a look at the issue of plastics and their impact on not only the environment, but also the economy and what local businesses are doing to mitigate the effect of that. But first, let's take a look back at some of the top business stories this week.
At number 5, U.S. markets opened lower on Wednesday, sliding back after President Donald Trump gave a fiery speech suggesting more political drama lies ahead. At a rally in Arizona on Tuesday, President Trump said he would be willing to shut down the government if Congress resists funding a border wall. He also said he was still considering terminating the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA. Analysts say a government shutdown would be disruptive to the economy, especially in states dependent on the federal government and contractors for work such as Maryland. Economists say scrapping NAFTA would also hurt business in the U.S., which counts Canada and Mexico among its biggest trade partners. Number 4 is also in the United States, as two of the world's most massive companies are teaming up. Corporate giants Walmart and Google are partnering to enter the voice shopping market, currently dominated by Amazon. From next month, U.S. consumers will be able to buy Walmart products using the voice-activated Google Assistant platform on phones and home devices. Amazon's AI virtual assistant Alexa already enables users to shop directly from the online retail giant. The partnership enables Walmart to challenge Amazon's dominance of the U.S. voice shopping market. Your number 3 story is regional. Belize's House of Representatives tabled legislation on Friday to decriminalize the possession of small amounts of ganja. Belizeans would be able to have up to 10 grams or about half an ounce of the drug. The bill is receiving widespread bipartisan support, but is strongly opposed by the churches. While it would still be illegal to trade or grow ganja, supporters hope it will pave the way for full legislation, which could make the CARICOM country a prime trading partner for Jamaica's burgeoning legal ganja industry. At number 2 is Jamaica's sugar industry. The Ministry of Industry and Agriculture has confirmed a shortage of 500 grams packaged sugar. Small retailers have been complaining that they are unable to comply with the directive not to sell bulk sugar because the smaller packages consumers are demanding aren't available. The ministry says steps are being taken to make the 1 pound bags more available within 2 to 3 weeks. And your top business story this week is Caribbean Broilers' $15 billion investment over the next 7 years. The group is consolidating all its business operations in a single location at Hillrun St. Catherine, where it will house 3 independent operations, all functioning at first world standards. Dubbed The Nest in homage to its poultry roots, the group's first hybrid growth center will house 3 independent operations and should substantially raise the bar in safety, research, and technology. The company says the massive investment is also a show of confidence in Jamaica's economy.
And when we come back, JMMB Bank CEO Jerome Smalling joins us right here on Point. Welcome back to On Point. Well, Jamaica Money Market Brokers, JMMB, is already a very recognizable name in the island's investment arena, but they've now transformed their merchant bank into a full-fledged commercial bank. Here's more.
In September 2016, the Bank of Jamaica approved the JMMB Merchant Bank's application to become a commercial bank, paving the way for the rebranding. Almost a year later, and the JMMB says commercial banking is being introduced to all 3 of the former Merchant Bank locations in Ocho Rios, Montego Bay, and on Knutsford Boulevard in New Kingston. The bank says complete banking services are also now being offered at additional locations across its JMMB network in Portmore and Mandeville, with a rollout of additional branches also on the cards. In the meantime, JMMB Bank says it expects to bolster its loan and deposit portfolios with new offerings to complement its suite of banking solutions. The bank says accounts are available in 5 currencies with no monthly maintenance fees. It says these accounts will allow clients island-wide access via the Multilink network, free in-branch transactions, among other benefits.
And joining us now to tell us more is CEO of JMMB Bank, the brand new JMMB Bank, Jerome Smalling. Welcome to On Point.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So you guys have been around as a bank, a full commercial bank, a little bit over a week now. How's it been going so far?
Well, the response of the market is overwhelming. As you know, we did our soft launch. We have not yet made our full-fledged launch. However, clients, the information is available and clients have already started to flow in.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Well, you guys enter the market at a time when there's a lot of discontent with banks in general, bank fees, the oligopoly as some call it, and this whole debate about high banking fees. How do you intend to differentiate yourself and to win over people who are kind of turned off by banks right now?
Well, the JMMB Group generally has always had the policy of charging fees that are value add. So we listen to our client base a lot, and we have done a number of focus groups, and we have been informed in terms of what clients are comfortable paying. So the issue is never really around the existence of fees, just the extent to which the client is feeling that there is value add for what they are paying. So that is the approach that we've taken. We did significant research to determine what our fee structure would look like. And most of our fees will primarily be recoveries or general value add type. I'm
sorry, I thought you said what your free structure will look like. No, it's just a joke on the word because, for example, the private members motion introduced by Fitz-Jackson in Parliament is calling for banks to make quite a few of the services free. What do you think about that?
Well, the thing is, I wouldn't want to speak specifically to his statements.
But it's out there. I mean,
it is there. However, the discussion is far more comprehensive. So when he brought the motion at first, we had a lot of discussion as high as Parliament around how fees are charged. The fact is that institutions, there are now 8 banks in Jamaica. And I suspect that the important thing for our client base is that they do their research to determine who is offering value for their money. The idea that fees should be regulated would mean that you would be normalizing the industry and that everybody would pretty much be doing the same. It is similar to if...
Not necessarily, because you'd have a standard that everybody does have to offer, but then you find the other ways to give the value that you said, create those value-added products and the ways that you can differentiate yourself.
Well, the thing is, you could have a motion in Parliament if it is discovered, if you are doing your research and it is discovered that the banks are potentially operating in a cartel mode where they're getting together and determining what are we charging for and how much are we charging for each service. And then that would mean that you wouldn't have fair competition occurring. But as it is today, in any competitive environment, institutions have the right and the freedom to determine how they are operating their businesses. It is for the client to be informed, to determine whose services am I going to subscribe to. So I can never ever support any regulation of operations in a free market type structure, because then where would we stop? Would we go to car dealers to say, okay, we need to determine how you're setting your prices and what your business model is?
But the difference is there are hundreds of car dealers in Jamaica. There are just a handful of banks.
Well, there are 8 banks. And the minister, in announcing the arrival of JMMB Bank as well as Jamaica National, indicated that the thrust is around the competition. And competition means the informed client. So I'm not defending the industry in any way. However, I'm defending the right for each institution to determine their business model. The clients have the right to determine also who they do business with.
Of course you have the right to determine who you do business with, but I think the proof is in the pudding. The fact that the banking fees have been so high over the years has led to this level of discontentment that there is now. And I think it's even part of the reason that JMMB has gotten a commercial banking license, because of the desire to create more competition.
Well, I agree. So if we are going to look at the fees in a vacuum, we could make a judgment statement in terms of whether it's high or low. The fact is, I do not know what it costs.
You don't think they're high?
Well, the thing is, everything is relative. I'm not sure what it cost my competitor to deliver a particular service. So I can't look at the fee just on the face of it and say, look, this fee is high or that fee is low. I know what it will cost me. So as a new entrant, we are looking, as I indicated to you earlier, at providing value for our clients and trying to charge a fair fee. JMMB, as you know, started out with Joan Duncan with the support of Dr. Noel Lyon, and the view was really around giving the average Jamaican an opportunity to realize their financial goals. And certainly charging unfair fees would not be a part of that. So our approach is always going to be, very interactive, trying to determine what our clients are looking for and not asking them to pay for services that they aren't receiving. Mm-hmm. So for example, we do not have any standard monthly fees that you are going to pay us, even if you do not subscribe to our services. It is really as you use your service, and only services that would attract a fee or a cost to us. So that would be our approach. Our fees have always been, even as a merchant bank, we operated under the same Banking Services Act. And if you look at our revenues, say for last year, we had fee income of, I believe, $136 million, which represented less than maybe 8% of our total revenues. So we have never been very big in fee, as a fee income institution. And on our investment side, the financial statements reflect the same. We have never been a big fee. We have never been big on charging fees. And it does not represent a big part of what we do. We strongly believe that our success will come based on the extent to which we assist our clients in realizing their goals. And so far, 25 years, we celebrate this year, it has worked well.
I think that's good to hear. I think customers and those who might be considering a new option would be pleased to hear that you're not that big on fees, because that has been quite the issue for the past few months. Another issue that's come up a lot recently in banking is interest rates. We keep hearing the Finance Minister Audley Shaw talking about the spreads are too wide, the spreads are too wide, we want the interest rates to come down. For a long time he's been talking about single-digit interest rates. We're there now. But I recently heard the Bank of Jamaica Governor Brian Winters say that for commercial lending, those interest rates are still too high. They're an average of 7.5%. And he thinks that, well, if you're a small business and you're not making that level of profit or return, it doesn't make sense to take out a loan. What's your position on that? You guys doing the commercial lending too?
Well, we are a bank. The biggest part of our lending portfolio is the business banking portfolio. We have always been big on financing businesses and facilitating small businesses. I would not want to address, I believe the governor, and I'm assuming everything he said was not published, whether in the media or printed, but I'm assuming when he refers to the current state as it relates to interest rate, he's speaking, and the minister as well, they're speaking to a concerted effort. I mean, I've heard it too much said about the interest rate and the spreads when in fact all the information is not available in the market. So for example, for every dollar of depositors' funds that hits the bank, 29 cents, if it's foreign currency, has to sit in either 15 cents actually sits in the BOJ, and another 14 cents, if it's foreign currency, has to be invested in low-yielding liquid assets. So there are specified assets that we are required to invest in. So we're actually insulating our investors or depositors. 29 cents if it's foreign currency, 26 cents if it's local currency. So 12 cents sits at the BOJ, and another 14 cents invested in low-yielding liquid assets. What that means is that you have what remaining? You can do the math.
I wasn't writing down the numbers.
Well,
you have
what
to
it
tell
means
me.
is that for each dollar that is deposited, you have 74 cents, if it's Jamaican dollars, to reinvest in loans. So we aren't using the full dollar. So when you speak of the spreads to say, okay, you're paying 2% and you're charging 7%, it appears as if there's a 5% spread. But everybody in the industry knows, including the governor and the minister, that it is not straight math. There are a number of things that can be addressed as well. So for example, while the tax rate has moved on every single business in Jamaica, it has not moved on financial institutions. We're still paying 33 1/3% taxes.
And others are paying what, 25?
25, between 18.5%, I believe, and 25%. So financial institutions are still paying 33 1/3%. The other thing is our asset taxes. Our primary asset for a financial institution, well, certainly for a bank, is loans. So you grow your loans, that's how you grow your asset base. There's an asset tax which was placed on banks. We were told it was temporary. It still exists today. So in addition to your regular income taxes.
And that's been for how long now?
It has been around, certainly since I've been back in the industry, which is about 5 years. And it's, I believe, as we speak, it's 0.25% of your asset base. Don't quote me on that. But the fact is, aggregated financial institutions are paying in excess of 50% taxes. Aggregated. In addition to that, the depositor's insurance premium is borne by the financial institution. So when we look at the spreads, so the spread is really what your revenue is. So your revenue has to take care of the taxes, the deposit insurance, it has to take care of everything that you do. So when we speak of spreads, it is really, I think a little unfortunate or unfair to speak as if you're taking 2% money and lending it at 7%, so you're making 5%. So the math isn't as clear as that. I mean, we could speak for hours on it. People go to school to do PhDs to understand the financial structure. So I think it's a little unfair sometimes.
No, but clearly when you look at the financial reports of the institutions, they're not doing so bad. I mean, you make it, the way how you break it down there, you'd make it sound like banks are struggling, and they're not.
Well, you know, that's the other thing. Many times we look at the net profit and we say, okay, 14 billion or whatever, it's a lot of money. We have never ever, certainly in our local experience, looked at capital invested. If you look at financial institutions and the capital required to generate that profit, and you compare it to any other industry, you understand the amount of capital that is at risk to generate that. So if you look at all the industry, all the different industries, look at all the other businesses, and you measure the capital at risk relative to the returns, and if you find that the institutions that are making these profits to which you refer are actually investing more capital, then we can have a discussion whether or not it is because they're price gouging or because they have taken the risk and they have invested in this country. So that again is another discussion to be had. Just looking at the number, yes, it looks large, but the question is, what did they invest to get that?
JMMB Bank is entering the market a few months after, well, earlier this year in February, JN Bank, you know, well, Jamaica National transformed into a bank completely as well. So you're the second to come on stream this year. And they came into the market at number 3 based on, I believe, assets and so on. So a major player just instantly in the market. Where do you guys come in?
Well, I mean, JMMB, when we started 25 years ago, for the most part, retail repos did not exist. So we basically created a new industry in terms of how investment is viewed today. Now, some of those laws would have changed. So, for example, the retail repo no longer exists. But JMMB has always been a pioneer. And we are hoping to bring to the market what we call, if you look at our locations across the country, they aren't even referred to as branches. They are financial life goal centers.
Financial life goal centers. I like that. Because
we start with our client, whether it's a business client or a personal client, and we try to determine what your challenges are, what are you seeking to solve, and then we try to customize a solution around that. Now, the extent to which it will be it has been successful. I mean, even as a merchant bank, we were the fastest growing bank in the industry. And we have had an overwhelming response to our value proposition. So we aren't necessarily daunted by the number of banks. The fact is, Jamaica does need competition.
Yes.
As you alluded to earlier. So we're bringing a particular brand to the market. We're hoping to be market changers as we were 25 years ago. And I strongly believe, based on the response while we're operating as a merchant bank, and since we have opened our doors just over a week ago, we strongly believe that Jamaica is wanting that type of institution. So
what is the area of the market that you're going to be going after? Is there a particular segment that you're looking at?
Well,
that you're going to say, this is what we want?
Well, we're big on businesses. We're big on financing the productive sector. And we have demonstrated that, as I said earlier, if you look at our portfolio, we're heavy on business loans. So we're definitely going to be focusing on the productive sector. Recent times we launched our product suite, which was geared towards women, saying to women, look, you don't have to feel intimidated by coming to a financial institution. JMMB is here. We're treating you as an individual with the respect that you deserve and desire, including women in business. We're intended to target that. Now, unfortunately, or interestingly, as at one of our new branches when we launched, and I met a client who said, look, JMMB is a woman place, I see you launched this all women and thing, and you don't have anything for me. But the fact is, we've always had products and services for everybody. We're just suggesting that, look, we're trying to empower women to say, look, you're running your business, you're running your family, we're here to listen to you. As well as small businesses. Small business, that would have been very close to the heart of our founder. And it has remained important to JMMB over the years. We have helped many small businesses to invest, and many of those have grown to be bigger businesses. And we will continue our focus in that regard.
That sounds good too. I like the focus on women in particular and small businesses. In the few minutes that we have left, I want to get your thoughts on the economy right now, because this has also been another hot topic. When is the economy not a hot topic here in Jamaica, right? Do you see us moving in the right direction right now?
Well, I've been around a long time, and I believe I can say this, that I've never seen as much activity in the business sector. Many businesses are speaking about expanding. I mean, you just have to read the newspapers. Just today, one business indicated that they intended to invest, I believe, $1.2 billion US in production. So I believe, based on the requests that we have been getting and based on what I've been hearing in the industry, certainly businesses are very gung-ho about the prospects. So, I mean,
which is good for you.
It is good for us, but it's good for, so JMMB is head office in Jamaica. We operate in Trinidad and in the Dominican Republic as well. But we're head office in Jamaica, and I believe in excess of 90% of our profits are made here. So the success of Jamaica is extremely important for us. And I'm excited about the prospects, and I hope that we will see the fruits of the investments, and that more businesses and more individuals will take the opportunity to invest in Jamaica and to look at driving employment, driving small businesses, and just generally giving Jamaica a chance to survive.
So that confidence you're saying is actually translating in people going after opportunities. In requests for credit.
For credit and for people wanting to invest. As well as overseas players who are interested in investing in Jamaica. I mean, just this week we met a group who indicated that it's overwhelming the number of Jamaicans and Jamaican connected individuals who are close to retirement, and they're looking to invest in Jamaica, or they're looking to move back, or looking to setting up holiday quasi guest house type operations. So even those small gestures, those small investments will help us to move in the right direction.
How are you with the mortgage market?
Well, we have had a mortgage product which is equivalent, so the rates are pretty much the same, and we believe, having done our research as early as 2012, we discovered that home ownership is a big part of who we are as Jamaicans, and that a lot of Jamaicans are aspiring towards that. And so it is one of our primary products. As I indicated, we're very flexible in terms of we're focused on having conversations with our clients around what are you seeking to solve, and how can we help you to solve that. And most important KPI in JMMB is measuring the extent to which we are helping our clients to realize their goals. Even more important than net profit and return on equity, it's really around, have we done right by the client? Have we assisted the client to get closer to their goals? And that is what we're measuring as our first KPI.
So what interest rates are you offering for mortgages? I'm asking for a friend.
Well, I believe the interest rates range from between 7.99 and close to 10%.
Okay.
Depending on the circumstances. We're probably one of the only institutions that will not say to you, you already own a home, so we're going to charge you a higher rate for your second home. We're encouraging people actually to invest in second or investment type properties. So we aren't going to penalize you for doing so.
That's encouraging. So what are you able to do different now as a full-fledged bank that you weren't able to do before as a merchant bank?
So a merchant bank had one, I would say, a single distinction in that you had to hold deposits for a minimum of 14 days. So that was primarily so what it meant for us as a merchant bank is that deposits would typically come to us at a higher rate than the commercial banks. So we couldn't offer things like current accounts, regular day-to-day accounts. And so as a commercial bank, we're able to do so. We're able to drive our balance sheet size to be able to offer more products. JMMB, we have always tried to, if we are goal-centric and we're focused on helping our clients to realize their goals, we needed to be in a position to provide them with all the possible financial services that they require. Hence the introduction or the thrust towards getting this commercial banking license.
It's an exciting time in banking, isn't it?
I would say so.
Well, I wish you all the best with JMMB Bank. I know people are going to be flooding your offices very soon.
I hope so too. Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us, Jerome. That's Jerome Smalling. He's the CEO of JMMB Bank. We'll have more after the break. Welcome back to On Point. Well, Jamaica's food industry isn't always the most environmentally friendly. Plastics and styrofoams dominate the packaging side of the industry. This has been creating an environmental and an economic impact. But would it be fair to say that most of the local players aren't taking their corporate and environmental responsibilities seriously? BATV takes a special look.
This is what Prime Minister Andrew Holness had to say last October after touring several communities ravaged by floods. The flooding was partly the result of plastic containers clogging up drains and gullies.
Plastics is a big problem for Jamaica, and we cannot in any way euphemize the situation. It is a real problem. During the threatened hurricane, I had an opportunity to tour some of our major gullies. And what is clear is that we are not disposing of our solid waste generally, but our plastics in particular.
Fast forward a few months and improper plastic disposal is still a strain on the island's infrastructure. So who can we rely on to get the plastic situation under control? According to Deputy CEO of the Jamaica Environment Trust, JET, Suzanne Stanley, we can't expect manufacturers to do it on their own initiative.
You can't really expect a private sector company to voluntarily make such changes if they are in the business of producing and using plastic to make their profit. You know, these are for-profit businesses. So unless there is some kind of regulation or law that comes in that prevents them or hampers them from using plastic packaging or plastic containers in their business, it's unlikely that they're going to voluntarily make that change.
Scientists say plastic can take as much as 450 years to fully break down, but the impact isn't just environmental. The JET Deputy CEO points out that there are also economic implications.
There's also economic implications associated with the use of especially single-use plastic. So when you're talking about plastic packaging, a lot of the time it's used once and then thrown away. And often in the Jamaican context, it's not thrown away in a correct manner. So it's improperly disposed of. So you'll find that plastic will make its way into our drains, clog up our drains, which can cause flooding, can breed pests and diseases because it tends to pool water, that type of thing. And then, of course, our drains lead to our gullies.
But Ms. Stanley is not suggesting an overnight fix. She says manufacturers who use plastic packaging can consider reducing the level of plastic in the material they use.
You can decrease the quantity of plastic that is used in packaging. So you find that there are some drinks companies that have bottles that have 30% less plastic. So the plastic is just a little, it's not as thick. So there's a reduction in like the volume of the plastic that's used.
Now, some Jamaican manufacturers and food producers have taken initiatives to reduce the amount of plastic they use. There's also been a push in the political front to get plastics banned. We continue the dialogue when we look at some of the initiatives taken by the manufacturers to use more sustainable packaging. In early 2015, Island Grill launched what it referred to as earth-friendly packaging. It was a revolutionary move which featured a paper box-like material which breaks down easily, is leak-proof, durable, and microwavable. Similarly, partners Tradewind Citrus and Wisynco have also joined the eco-friendly band, converting a large volume of their packaging into carton Tetra Pak containers. And just last year, the Wisynco Group announced that it had started infusing a biodegradable component into its styrofoam packaging line to speed up the breakdown process and reduce harm to the environment.
We are actually, today for the tour, we were running samples of this product, which you would have seen in the factory, the green material. Basically, that material has the chemical already in it, and that chemical is going to facilitate compostability or degradation of the product in between 2 and 5 years, as opposed to hundreds of years that normal plastic would break down. Basically what it does is it facilitates the chemical breakdown of the styrofoam into its H2O, dirt and water, and oxygen. So it allows for the product that goes into the environment, into the landfills, to be attacked by the bacteria that will destroy it fast.
In the meantime, CEO of the private sector organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, Dennis Chung, says the private sector is considering a strategy to incentivize proper plastic disposal in an effort to solve the island's plastic problem.
On that committee also, looking at options, for example, of putting a deposit on plastic bottles, so that people would pay a premium for a plastic bottle, and then when they hand it back in, they'll get back that deposit.
He says the option of banning certain types of plastics is also an option which has been laid on the table.
Of banning certain types of bags, plastic bags from coming into the market, right? The other thing that's being looked at also very actively is actually working on carrying biodegradable plastic bags. So there are a lot of things being looked at from a committee that's chaired by Paris Leo Ayi, which I sit on, and the government has appointed that committee and it's taking a very active look at it. So I suspect that is going a lot smoother because there has been consultation involved. So I suspect that will actually work, to the benefit of everyone. And we're looking at maybe the medium term to resolve the issue.
But according to Wisynco's boss, William Mafood, a stronger public education campaign is what the country needs. He says a ban or even a tax will only hide the real problem for a short time.
The reality is an approach like a banning of anything, to me, is not the right way, because it says we have a problem and the way to fix it is it's like I used the analogy the other day on Twitter. I said, are we going to ban the use of automobiles because people die in car crashes? Are we going to start banning the use of, certain types of foods because people die from heart attacks or cancer? We have to take an approach to identify ways to educate consumers and to have people aware, if we use these things, you need to dispose of them properly. We need to educate and change the culture of solid waste in Jamaica. But to just say we're going to ban this or we're going to ban that or we're going to tax this, those are not the ways to fix the root of the problem.
And when we come back, we'll have the numbers and your word on the street. Welcome back to On Point. Well, before the break, we had a special look at how plastics are impacting the environment and the economy, and all that Jamaican businesses are doing, some of them at least, to make a difference. But it's still a drop in the bucket compared to the overall impact of plastics on the economy, the environment worldwide. Here are the numbers.
It takes the average plastic bottle 450 years to completely biodegrade, but some plastic bottles can take up to 1,000 years. It's estimated that 1 trillion plastic bags are used and discarded each year. It's also estimated that 50% of plastics are used just once and thrown away. According to EcoWatch, only 5% of plastics used are recovered for recycling. The average American throws away approximately 185 pounds of plastic each year. Plastics accounts for around 10% of the total waste we generate. The production of plastic uses around 8% of the world's oil production.
And our On Point team hit the streets and asked Jamaicans, what do you think Jamaica's banking system needs right now?
What we realize with the banking system is that people putting their money into the bank and them not getting a return on their money. You put in your money into the bank and then you have to pay the bank to keep your money. So the banking system gone down to the worst kind of situation we can ever face.
I think what they can do is to compare the interest rates in terms of how much they're charging borrowers and see if they can be more competitive with each other in terms of getting that interest rate lower.
Well, they need more tellers at the thing and spend more time dealing with the customers. Sometimes go in the bank, the lines are so long, you have some empty tellers space there not using, so you need to use up those space to get the crowd out.
Well, I don't really know because I don't really deal with bank more than say, I just change a check and stuff. But as far as what I see, it's okay.
Some interesting responses there. What I'd definitely like to see from the banking industry is probably what most people would like to see: lower interest rates, less fees. Who doesn't want that as a consumer of banking, right? Because what they're doing, they charge you to put in your money, they charge you to take out your money, they charge you when you use the point of sale, they charge you when you use the ATM. I mean, it just gets ridiculous sometimes. So I'm definitely glad to see more competition in the market. Looking forward to seeing what JMMB Bank will offer and how that will make a difference in what the other banks do, how they're going to respond. On the issue of plastics, also glad to see some of the efforts being made. I know in recent times, Wisynco's made an effort to move towards biodegradable styrofoam. I know Island Grill has been one of them in the food industry that's moved towards making their boxes using cardboard, using more biodegradable materials. I'd love to see the day when more or even all Jamaican players in the food industry take similar moves so we can have less plastic, less styrofoam impacting the environment. Well, that's our show for this week. Thanks to our hardworking production team. Thanks to you, our viewers, who make this show possible, and to all our sponsors. I'm Kalila Reynolds. See you next week.
On Point was brought to you by National Baking Company.